Hi, it's been a little bit since we've done another one of these videos recapping an experience I had at a LARP. This one is going to be recapping my experiences at the July Twin Mask game. It's been 3 weeks, I think, since the last game, which has given me a lot of time to think about the game and a different kind of perspective than when I usually record, which is right when I get back. This game was a really interesting turning point for me that got me thinking very differently about how I approach LARPing and my experience at this game. So why didn't I enjoy the game quite as much as I'd hoped to? That's kind of the point of the video, is to talk about all that. I think it's for one really important reason, one really important lesson that this past game taught me, which is about how you balance playing the game of the LARP versus playing the role of the character that you're embodying at the LARP. Before this game, the way that I as a player was engaging with my character was by setting goals and then allowing the goals to lead me to roleplay. One of my goals has been become the harbor master of the city or build a trading company. And as a result of that, I would find and get interesting roleplay in game, which is great. And it meant that I was having a good time and I was really accomplishing the things I wanted to do. But this past game, I made a ton of progress towards what I wanted to accomplish, but realized when the game ended that I didn't have as good of a time as I had hoped, as I thought that I would have. And what I realized is that I actually had the priorities backwards, which I think could be a common problem if you're kind of a person like me that focuses on goal-oriented play. Rather than having the goals be the primary thing, the role play needed to be the first thing, which is what kind of interesting role play can I create or be a part of with my character? And as a result of that interesting role play, then see what goals come of that, right? What naturally occurs, what emerges from the narrative that you weave with the world and with the other characters, whether they're player characters or non-player characters. That means then rather than seeking to accomplish a thing, I as a player know that what I'm seeking to do is have a blast role-playing, because like I said, that's my favorite part of the LARP, is how deep we can get into the roleplay and how immersive the world becomes when you're invested in it and the 300 other people that you're playing with at Twin Mask are invested in it, and allow that to then inform my goals. And so I've been completely reorganizing my approach to my character based on that, by switching that hierarchy, knowing that what I want to do is not just gather mercantile resources to accomplish certain things, but to have the mercantile roleplay that allows me to see what other players are working on and be involved with that and help support them with getting the resources that they need and that they want for their own projects and for their own narratives, and having my character be in between all that with the trading as one aspect of what he does. This has made me really excited now looking ahead to the next game, because I know that unlike last game, I'm going to be focused on getting the most out of the roleplay side instead of doing what I did spend most of my time as Caliban doing last game, which was just running around getting X amount of resources or Y amount of this other resource. It meant that rather than playing the game and allowing me to be somewhat carried along by the current of what was happening and responding in the moment, I was just running a list of errands that I had kind of planned out before the game. And there were unique moments that came along during it, but it just wasn't the way I needed to be LARPing to have the most fun. So if you're planning your character, I would encourage you, rather than goals, to think about the roleplay experience that you want. What is it that you will have fun doing as a role-playing experience, and allow the goals to come from that? Do you want to be the person in the center connecting people with either information or resources? Do you want to be researching magical mysteries? Well, then create and develop goals around that as a secondary result of it. Or do you want to be having kind of valorous battles and talking about bravery and sacrifice and doing combat-oriented roleplay? I think that is a better way to engage. And I think before game, you can make preparations like I'm making now for my next game that will help make that possible. For example, I'm building props. Actually, I think I have some stuff here. This wasn't planned, I promise. I'm building some props. So I got this cool scrapbook with all these black pages of paper, and you can see some of my notes of what I'm going to be building on it, that hopefully I will get done before next game. That I'm going to build out into a cool naval journal with a lot of my characters' ideas and plans and designs for the harbor and for trade and for things like that, and use it as a prop that people can really engage with and can look through and will be an immersive part of the setting. My goal is to try to add to the immersion now that other players, other characters are experiencing. One of my favorite things I got to do as Caliban last game was teach lessons. I got to teach people how to use certain skills, because in Twin Mask, once you're past a certain amount of games, if you want to learn a new skill, you have to learn it from, for the most part, another player who already has that skill. And so I got to teach a lot of economic-oriented lessons, and I want to do a lot more of that. So I'm planning out full lessons that will be really compelling and really immersive for players to take part in, so that it's a cool roleplay experience. You could be walking around town, know that you want to learn this thing, be directed to me, and hopefully have a really fun role-playing lesson. The other thing I got to do as Caliban, which I really enjoyed, was lead my first research group. I've taken part in research before, but I never got to lead one myself, and I really enjoyed doing that, bringing together a group of mostly new players and directing them in this research. And they just kind of ran with it and brought so much excitement and new perspective to it. We had a great time just sitting around talking for 30, 40 minutes about this hypothetical subject that we were researching that was ship related. And now we're gonna hopefully continue to do that over the games to come. The other piece is for my other character, my shaman Octile. I'm planning some shamanic rituals, some rites that I can perform for people at game that can allow them character development. So it's a process that they can go through, that they can succeed or potentially fail at, that will allow them to dive into not only their backstory, but into who their character is becoming in the course of the game, and allow my shaman to be a kind of facilitator with a sort of vision quest or just set of trials that they can participate in and get some actually cool little rewards out of in the end. I'm really excited by both of these and where these characters are, because in a lot of ways I think they're just getting to the point where I can really dig into the characters. With Caliban, this past game was the first game where I really felt established. I've done enough towards building trade, supporting this, and making my character's identity clear, that if people are talking about ships, people are talking about the harbor, people are talking about trade, they know to seek me out or want to include me in the conversation because they know I can bring value to it. And that was really, really fun and rewarding. It felt like I was narratively getting to who I want this character to be known as. He's still not the harbor master even after all this time, but the efforts that I've made to get there have led to some really interesting narrative developments and gotten me talking with a whole host of players that I probably wouldn't have been talking to if I hadn't had that aim and that mission and that goal, which I think is really the most redeeming positive aspect of being really goal focused, is that you will encounter a lot more players, a lot more of the game. So as he's kind of continued to pursue this, he's become, I wouldn't say this authority figure, but at least someone who is in the thick of these projects and is setting up not only to try to do more with the harbor, but more broadly get involved with trade across the fantasy world that we're playing in, and also gather resources and pool resources together for people to allow the merchants of the game, the other merchant players, to work better with each other, and also to set up trade routes and help the economy of the game world develop better. And that's really fun. I love systems. I love kind of the crunch side of the games. Because I like those sides, the economic aspect of this character has been really, really fun. And I think he's starting to really come into his own much more in a way that I didn't expect, especially with the changes I'm going to be making in the games to come to be more narrative focused. And with Octile, I've been getting really excited about what's to come as well, because I made sure to change him along with what I learned from my experiences with Caliban. But he's also getting to explore the magic system of the game in a way that Caliban is just not at all. And magic in Twin Mask is so cool and interesting that I can't wait for him to dive into it. He practices a kind of magic that allows him to engage with the spirits of the world. I'm really looking forward to that developing further so that he can call these spirits forth and be his best shaman self. There's also a really fun element, which is that since I look so distinct when I play him, I wear a wig and a completely different costume and try to speak differently and act differently. For the most part, people don't recognize me. Now, some people know that I play this character now, and so they know that it's me, but someone who doesn't would not be able to link me playing Caliban and me playing Octile. And I think even if you do know that it's me separately, hopefully my acting is distinct enough that it doesn't feel like you're talking to the same character at all. That does tie into another aspect of LARPing that I've been thinking about more, which is balancing an alt. I'm obsessed with making alts. I've always been an alcoholic, and I've been trying to curb that because I think the more you invest into the same character, the more you kind of get out of them, especially over the long term. It kind of compounds over time. And so as a result, you want to avoid spreading yourself too thin. When you're playing an alt, there are some really unfortunate negatives that you'll have to deal with, like the fact that you'll be one character and see something really cool that you wish your other character was a part of, and you'll just have to learn to deal with that. You also have a lot more to manage and remember, and you have to deal with your own immersion of shifting characters, which is difficult on top of just having the other costuming and things like that. However, despite that, I still think that the pros outweigh the cons. Even if you play one character the entire weekend, there's a ton happening at game, so much so that you'll never see everything regardless, even if you were just that one character. So you're going to be missing stuff. The exchange is that you get to explore a whole different side of the game that you would never get to explore as your main character, as your single character. For example, the magic side that I was talking about, or the politics of the savage nations, the barbarian peoples that my other character Octile is a part of, whereas my character Caliban is from a much more cultured place and is a more cultured character. And so they engage with different kinds of people in very different ways. And so I get to see more of the game, which I think more than makes up for what I miss out when I'm playing one character rather than the other. In addition, I think having less time with your characters can actually be a good thing because it pushes you to take your roles further. It pushes you to make much stronger and braver narrative decisions that are riskier and more engaging and more compelling because you know you're only going to be that character for X amount of time, and so you want to play it to the utmost. And I want to continually become a better role player, become a more immersive, I don't know why I said it like that, become a more immersive part of the setting for the people around me as well. And I want to take it to 11. I want to turn the dial up as far as I can on the choices that I'm making with my characters to make them really distinct people, really interesting people that other people want to roleplay with. I know I've been talking a lot of theory and stuff that I'm thinking about rather than things that actually happened at last game. The game is just so huge. There's so much to get involved with that I have a hard time encapsulating it. I did see from afar a lot of really crazy stuff happen at game. It was stuff that I personally was not involved with at all. But it was funny to just be in the setting and see some really wild stuff happening and know that that I was not being in danger and that at least this stuff wasn't related to me. It looked really cool from afar. One cool thing that I do want to mention that happened with my character Octile, I was walking around town at night because I pretty much only play this character at night, and I met another character in game and we started talking to each other and realized that even though we come from two really distinct cultures, happened to have a really close connection over the lion symbology, because to this other character, the lion as a symbol was extremely meaningful and important, and to my character it is also the same. It's also very important because he comes from the lion tribe. And so we got to have this really unexpected, really fun chat where we bonded over something that is really important to both of our characters in very similar ways, even though we come from very different experiences. And I really, really liked that. That was super fun. As far as some other really cool things that happened, The camp that I'm in is Caliban, that I kind of only use in character as Caliban because it doesn't make sense for my other character to be there, was getting a ton of use this game. And that was super fun to have people coming through in and out, wheeling and dealing and meetings and things like that happening in my home environment. That was really, really fun. There was also a huge tournament at game, which again, I was not involved with, which was a big fighting tournament to determine who would be the champion of Solace or the best fighter in the kind of area that we're in game. And that was really cool to witness from afar and to hear about. The person who won is someone that my character Caliban is friends with in game. But honestly, this game, I wasn't really involved with any of the main plot line. I was just doing my own character's thing, and I got some really fun roleplay out of it. But I ended up being a little too tunnel visioned on what I wanted to accomplish rather than going out and having the best possible roleplay experience. So that will definitely change in the games to come. I'd love to share more with you, but I feel I don't want to give things away about the game and about what's going on, because I want you to come and check it out and play a character in Twin Mask and come have a great time. Maybe when we get further on and storylines kind of start to finish and wrap up, I can share full-on stories of what is happening and what has happened and disclose a bit more. I think that would be a ton of fun. I'm also thinking about bringing other friends from the game in to talk about how they approach their characters and their role-playing and their experiences at game, because there are some people at game that are really great and do some really exciting stuff that I'm sure would be really interesting for you to hear about. But that's really all I've got to say. I got new glasses. You may have noticed in some of the other more recent videos. I got these to be more period-appropriate costume glasses for Caliban, but I really liked how they looked, and so now I just wear them as my normal glasses. They are prescription. They're not just random glasses. I'm completely blind, and it's just getting worse increasingly and alarmingly fast. So I am now wearing these full-time and really happy about it. But that's all the news I've got to report. I will do my best to pack these more to the brim and give you more real, deep, narrative, exciting stuff in the future. I will definitely have more to share soon. For now, there is more setup happening. Caliban is continuing to accrue influence both mechanically and also narratively as more mercantile stuff starts happening. I'm also going to be starting to get my first spirits for Octile. And once I know what those are and how those play out and get them named, I'm definitely going to share a bit of that with you so that, yeah, I can talk more about that character too, because I think he's going to some really interesting directions. And I'm going to try to avoid making a bajillion other characters and just rotating through them, because I like the game so much. I have such a good time that I just want to explore as many different aspects of it as I can. Let me know what you want to see from the game in the comments below. If you want more narrative stuff, if you want more thoughts about actually playing the game like I've been sharing this time. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.